Hello, my remarkable friend. I'm David Pasqualone, and welcome to this seminar on how to scale your coaching business by using podcasts. So, we're going to give you a quick overview of how podcasts can help your business grow and why you want to do this, not just for the money. So the first question is, what's a podcast? A podcast can be a monologue, it can be an interview show, it can be a dialogue, it can even be a scripted story that continues. There's all sorts of podcasts out there. It's like television shows or radio shows, but they're pre-recorded and people can listen to them on demand. They can use their cell phone or their computer, even the Amazon Alexa or any smart device in the world. And what's beautiful about podcasts is even though it's a global phenomenon and growing remarkably, we're still in the infant state. So you may be asking yourself, well, how can a podcast help my coaching business? And what would I even talk about? There's a million coaches out there. That's very true. So this is how a podcast will help. When you podcast, people come to know, like, and trust you. And that's the three fundamentals of sales, right? People need to know, like, and trust you. Once you have a client, they're so much more likely to use your services in the future. Well, the great thing about podcasting is when you pick something you're passionate about, and it doesn't have to be your business, people know, like, and trust you, and they see you as an expert. And once you're established as an expert in their mind, when they see you bridge the gap into the other areas of your life, or your expertise, or your business, they naturally form a relationship. So, for example, 4 years ago, I didn't know what a podcast was. I didn't even listen to podcasts. And I felt the leading to start a podcast, interviewing people, sharing their remarkable stories, and not just what they overcame or achieved in life, but to break it down into the practical steps of how they did it so we can too. We started the Remarkable People podcast with the sole intent to help people grow and glorify God. That's it. When we did this 4 years ago, it took off. Currently, we're in 150 plus episodes that have been released. We have a 9-month waiting list for guests for our weekly show, the recordings, and we're in, I think, over 118 countries. Our primary audience is in the United States, but we have listeners from all over the world. And what has happened, because we have the Remarkable People podcast and people know, like, and trust us, they know we're just trying to give them content to help them grow. We've had a tremendous amount of business from that. I'm talking lots of business. Like, I mean, I don't want to put numbers out there, but for us and for most people, you would say that's a significant amount of income. So when you're out there, podcasting has something called podfade. Most people get excited, they buy equipment, they start recording episodes, and 3 to 7 episodes in, they see how much work it is and they quit. That's why the key to being a successful podcaster is being passionate about what you're doing, what you're talking about. So if your primary coaching business is helping C-level suite executives grow and lead, and maybe just their personal organization, it doesn't matter what it is. You may also have a passion for gardening, and you start a gardening podcast. And as crazy as that sounds, if you're passionate about gardening and people are coming to know, like, and trust you, then you're going to have crossover, because there are other executives that love gardening. If you love cigars, if you love boating, if you love just you're a number nerd, right? I'm a number nerd, so I can say that without offense. But if you love crunching numbers and you love organization and you love making sure everything balances out on that spreadsheet, you have a market. If you have a passionate, other people do too. So what you want to do is start a podcast you're passionate about. And it may be your business. It may be you're a digital marketing expert and your whole show is digital marketing. You're bringing tips each week or each day, however aggressive you want to be with it. You might bring guests on who are also experts in the field in parallel, and you work together. Whatever the scenario is, What this teaching is going to do is just teach you the practical steps of how to start that podcast so you can be as successful as possible right off the bat. Now, there's a lot more to it. There's very, very, very a ton of information out there. I have a class that we have students from over, I think, 36 countries, and we have hundreds of students around the globe called Podcasting Made Easy. You can check it on my website, davidpasqualone.com. And I'm not trying to just pimp you a class. That's just one resource. And it is a paid lifetime membership, but it's worth it because it takes you from 8 weeks from zero to hero of how to start and launch your podcast with all the details that we're going to skip because this is a short teaching. But what this teaching is going to do is give you the building blocks of what you're going to need to podcast and then how to transition it to help your coaching business. So first off, it doesn't matter if you have a smartphone, a professional camera. The most important thing about podcasting, number one, is the mic, because people will tolerate okay video. People will tolerate, you may be stumbling through your words a little bit. It makes you more real. Podcast is really about connecting. That's what makes it probably the number one podcast in the world is a Joe Rogan Experience. And he goes on there and you may agree with him or disagree with him, but he's Joe Rogan, right? Now, you and I are not Joe Rogan. I'm David Pasqualone. You're you. Don't try to be Joe Rogan. Be you. Some podcasts are very short. Some podcasts are very long. Our podcast is long format. We have episodes that are 30 minutes. We have episodes that are 3.5 hours. The average episode of the Remarkable People podcast is 1 hour and 15 minutes. But that's never hindered our growth, and that's never helped our growth because our target, our audience we're trying to help, they're people who are there to listen, to learn, to do what they hear, to repeat it each day so they can have a great life in this world and most importantly, in eternity to come. So when you find your target audience, what you're going to want to hear is probably what they're going to want to hear. So that's why the first thing you want to decide is, what do I want to talk about? What's the central theme of my podcast? So that's what you want to write down. When it comes to equipment, again, you can use your smartphone, you can use your camera on your, laptop. Whatever you're using is fine, but you want to make sure the recording of your audio is as clean as possible. To start off, you can just use a headset that comes with your device. That's simple. I use a Shure mic. It's a couple hundred, I think it's like $250. There's Audio Technica, makes great mic and boom kit for like $110. And again, on the website, we're going through the class. We have links to all this to make your life easier, good, better, best options, depending on how much money you have in your budget for this. And we've helped people start podcasts that you've never heard of. And we've helped corporations that are massive start podcasts. So we've been through the gamut of setting up studios, and we've helped one-on-one individuals get going. So what we've done, it's all scalable. And it's, where do you want to be? So that's why I kind of give you different options. So number one, you're going to know what your podcast is about. 2, for equipment, you do need a camera, you do need a mic. And technically for a podcast only, you don't even need a camera. You just need a good mic. However, if you're taking the time to record an episode and you're putting all the effort into this and the editing, if you add video to it, you put it on YouTube, the second largest search engine in the world, make sure you have a Rumble account. So whatever's put on YouTube automatically pulls through to Rumble. Now, I have a website. We built a website for our podcast at the very beginning. That way we can get as much organic traffic through Google, right? SEO optimization. But then we have YouTube, the second largest search engine in the world. That is being optimized and attracting traffic. Then, because we talk about all sorts of topics, spiritual, political, opinions, YouTube is very, very censor oriented. It's a cancel culture out there. So if you're talking about anything controversial, definitely start a free Rumble account. When you post an episode to YouTube, it automatically pulls through. And now you have a backup on Rumble. And what I do is once it backs up on Rumble, I use that to stream through my website. And this is why I do it. I'm still getting the SEO optimization on YouTube. right? I'm getting as many listeners as I can to find the podcast. We're going to type in motivational stories. How do I overcome depression? My cousin just got raped. How do I help her? Help him? Who knows, right? We've had every scenario possible on the podcast, it seems. When it comes to the Rumble, if you talk about the COVID vaccine or you talk about, the presidency or something controversial, if YouTube shuts that episode off, no problem. It's on Rumble and that's feeds pulled through your website. You don't have to recode. So I'm jumping around a little bit, but I'm trying to get you the big picture of what you need for a successful podcast. So got the vision is the most important. What do you want to talk about? What are you passionate about? What can you bring contact to the people each week consistently? Then, you want to have the right mic, camera too. Not as important. Lighting, camera, not a big deal, but it's there. Then you want to make sure your network, your website should be the central hub of all your marketing. And you know that if you're a business owner. People get confused and they get focused on all these social media sites, but really the social media is to bring people to your website. Your website's a funnel that converts a sale or an action. Okay. So if you're trying to grow your coaching business, take your podcast website. And even if it's about, again, I'm just using gardening, it can be about skating, it can be whatever you want, but take that podcast and put it as a tab on your website. And then when people are going for business, they're finding your podcast. When people are on your podcast, they're finding your business. You're cross marketing and it works. So now you got a website set up and you have your content there. And now you're like, well, Dave, how do I get the content there? Right. Okay. Well, like you use someone like GoDaddy for hosting your website, you're going to need a host for your podcast. Now, we talked about a video podcast, and that's YouTube. Use YouTube, pulls through to Rumble. But for the audio portion, so it's on your phone, and whether you're an Apple Podcast or Google Podcast or Spotify or Stitcher or any podcast player out there around the world, you're going to take it and have a podcast host. I love Buzzsprout. There's dozens of podcast hosts out there, but I love Buzzsprout. Good people, easy to work with, great rates, feature rich. So Buzzsprout's what I use. So what you do is you get an account with Buzzsprout, and I think they start there's a free account, but that information gets deleted after a couple months. But for $12 a month, you put your content out there, you get so many hours per month, and then it's there till you stop paying. So again, podcasting is a long-term approach and strategy if you're trying to grow your coaching business. If you have a passion, it's something you want to continuously do. But if you're thinking about podcasting to try it and to just start and see what happens, that's probably not the right mindset. And I've seen a lot of people fail. And again, statistically, I think it's like 8 out of 10 podcasts start and end within 7 episodes because people just aren't committed to it. So I'm trying to start you off right. That's why I'm stressing this. So now you record your episode, audio and video. You can do any kind of post-production edits you want. We choose not to edit our podcast. We want everything raw and real. And then we add an intro, and the intro is, designed a certain way. We want to catch attention. We want to give the branding. We want people to know what's coming in this episode. We want people to stick through it, right? So you have your maybe pre-roll, then you have your introductory reel, then you have your description, and then you have the episode. Then you have a post, your exit reel. However you want to do it, the key is bringing real, honest content. So now you're talking about skating, you're talking about gardening, you're talking about cigars, you're talking about digital marketing, you're talking about executive leadership, whatever the topic is, you're choosing, I'm going to release every Wednesday at 2 a.m. I'm going to release every Thursday at 3 p.m., whatever it is. And then you make sure to stay consistent. And by doing this, people form a relationship with you. And don't get discouraged or motivated by numbers. You want as many numbers as possible. And plus, the more numbers you get, the more sponsors you get, the more sponsors you get, the more funding you get. It's a circle. Plus, you're using your platform now, your podcast, as a way to connect with people and get new clients. So it's this beautiful circle of helping people and bringing in business. And like I said, we didn't try, nor do we. I can't think of one episode or situation where I've tried to leverage our podcast to bring new clients on, but it happens all the time, all the time. So podcasting is a very powerful way to connect with real audiences that are highly responsive. So you get your mic, or, again, even if you want to start small, use your phone, whether it's an Android or iPhone, use your phone. You might want to get a tripod. Again, very inexpensive, $15. You want to make sure you have some front lights. Again, you can get them. I got a couple lights here. I think the set with stands and everything was like $80 on Amazon. You can get ring lights. You can do whatever you want. But again, the key is the sound. And then the key for the content is your vision and your consistency. And now, while you're doing this and you're bringing the podcast out each week, now you've edited the episode, and you can use, if you're doing audio only, Audacity. There's a software I use that edits the audio and video, because we do both. And that's called the Script. And I'll put links in the show notes to all these. And again, if you do subscribe to the podcasting class, it's got everything and more. And we're about to launch this year version 2. So it's a lifetime membership, but we're updating it, so it's always fresh content for you. Now, when you're getting the Descript, again, there's other options out there. Even Buzzsprout now has stuff you can purchase through them and use their information and their tools and resources to do the same thing. But now I have my audio component that I upload to Buzzsprout, podcast host. I have my video component that I upload to YouTube and have it pull through to Rumble. And then I take that and I lay it on the website. And on the website, now I have organic traffic going there for the podcast, but now it's promoting my business. And then it's also going to cross over. So when you have a successful practice of coaching, now people are saying, oh, wow, they have a podcast too. I'm going to check it out. And then it's learning. And then people are coming to know you, and they're seeing your passion, and you get excited and they get excited. Like, I want to reach out and talk to her. I want to reach out and talk to him. And they connect with you on a level you couldn't even imagine. And think about this. Even if you only had 100 subscribers, people are like, 100, that's nothing. There's people, again, 4 million views. That's true. But if I told you you could come every Monday night and speak to a room of 100 people to promote your business for free, would you do it? Yeah. So if you can get 50 people in the room, would you do it? Yeah. Those are people who you're going to form relationships with. And those are people who are decision makers and buyers for what you're trying to sell, your coaching services. So podcasting is a great way to do this. And I highly encourage it if you're doing it the right motive. And the right motive is just to help people. Like the Bible says, that the number 1 and 2 commandments: love God, love people, right? That's it. On this hang all the commandments. So when you're podcasting, even if you don't believe in God, maybe you're like, what's he talking about? You reap what you sow, karma, whatever you want to call it. If you help people, it'll come back to you. So when you have your business and you're like, I want to grow my business, I'm interested in podcasting to do it, this is the best way. Find something you're passionate about, record the episodes, put it up there. Then you can promote it on social media. You can send out email blasts to your subscribers now. And then everything just grows together, and it snowballs. And before you know it, you're going to have quite the following. There's some cost in podcasting. You're going to pay, like I said, $12 a month for hosting fees. Maybe you buy the script. It's like $18 or $20 a month for that. So there's some minor costs in the big picture. And then when you get sponsors, they pay all your costs. Easy peasy. You can even make a full-time income if you get really good at this, right? So I'm David Pasqualone, and this segment was simply to try to help you get started. Is a podcast right for me and my coaching business? Is this something I'm willing to try? Am I looking to do this for the long haul? Is this something that's feasible? And don't be disillusioned. Podcasting takes time. You got to think about what you're going to say. You have to record it. You might have some post-production editing. Then you have to put it out. So it takes time. And that's why when you're passionate, it's easy. When you're not passionate, it's a chore. Don't do it. Do not do it if it's a chore. But if you get a partner in it or someone, a dialogue where maybe there's two hosts or you have guests each week, it makes it so much fun. And then there's all sorts of tools you can do. You probably use a service like Acuity or Calendly or one of the other scheduling services. You can use forms on your website. There's so many form software. There's so much you can do. And it's a great industry. And even though you hear about podcasts all the time now, it's still an industry in the infancy. So if you get in now, you're just going to build a base that's stronger and stronger and stronger, and you're going to have a following and business for years to come. So I'm David Pasqualone. You can reach out to me at davidpasqualone.com, me at davidpasqualone.com. You can go to our website, check out the podcast, remarkablepeoplepodcast.com. You can go on your favorite podcast player and check it out too. And like I always tell our listeners, leave us a 5-star review if you love it. And if you have any suggestions to make it better, write me privately, and we're going to try to do that and make the podcast as best it can be. And for you, I want to see you successful. So if you have questions about podcasting, feel free to write me again at davidpasqualone.com. Join our class. And there's a lot of great things going on in that podcasting class in 2023 and 2024. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this training. I hope it helped clarify, what a podcast is. Will it help my coaching business? And how can I use it to scale? Other than that, I hope you have a great day. I wish you much prosperity in everything you do, and joy and peace. I'm David Pasqualone. I'll catch you in the next episode. Ciao.